of the primary tools that you're going to be using in order to diagram an argument accurately is this notion of a subargument. A subargument is merely the case within an argument when a premise itself has evidence given for it. So, for example, I might try to convince you that you should not buy clothes from company X because company X exploits its workers overseas. How do I know that it exploits its workers? Because Human Rights Watch wrote a report on it that was widely received as credible. So in this case, I have three claims. One, the conclusion. You should not buy clothes from this company. Two, a premise. This company exploits its workers. Three, another premise. Human Rights Watch created a report that was widely received as credible, saying that they exploit their workers. That gives me reason to believe that they exploit their workers. That they exploit their workers gives me reason to believe that you should boycott the company. Now, why is this important? Remember, what we're after is a graphic representation of the structure of the argument, as if we were looking at the argument with an X-ray machine and just looking at its bones. And for that reason, we're interested in what these premises try to do. What is their function? What is their job within this argument? Well, the job of number three, that Human Rights Watch had produced a credible report saying that the company exploited its workers, is not directly to give evidence to number one. That's not its job in the context of this argument. Its job is to give evidence for number two. That's good reason to believe that the company exploits its workers. So, with a subargument, we still use the same arrow, which still means giving evidence for, but we're now stacking it. You're always going to represent the flow of logic going downwards, ending up in the conclusion. But here we would interpret this diagram as saying 3 gives evidence for 2, 2 gives evidence for 1. Now, you see very quickly that there could then be a subargument giving evidence for 3. How do I know that the Human Rights Watch gave a report that said this? I read it on their website, perhaps. Okay? Arguments can have literally infinite numbers of levels of subarguments. And the further we go up, we simply branch off with more arrows going down. Notice, of course, that we could have multiple premises giving evidence for 2. We can have any combination. But a subargument is merely an argument nested within an argument. In this case, 2 is functioning as kind of a sub-conclusion for which we have evidence, and as a premise that gives evidence for the conclusion.